There, did I get it? Wrong one. There,
I'm not
there you go.
decent, Cecil. I'm not decent. You have to cover me up.
Yeah. Okay. As the countdown begins. And we are rocking and rolling this morning. It's Atlanta and Carolina, the first game to preview. And the Falcons side of things is a lot more interesting if they're going to keep playing like that. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, Bloom, maybe they're not winning, but we're not here to pick the winners of this game. We're here to pick the winners in your fantasy lineup, which could include Julio Jones. And they're all going to be limited this week, right? It's a short week. It's Julio Jones. I mean, he's limited when it's not a short week. So it's a short week. But having confidence in your Falcons, Gurley, Jones, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Dash of Hayden Hurst, and Matt Ryan leading the way at quarterback, like having faith in your Falcons, again, they may not win, but who cares?
Yeah.
They might get you a bunch of points.
Yeah, the numbers are going to be there. It's just as simple as if Julio Jones is out there, the rising tide lifts all ships in this offense, except for maybe Calvin Ridley. Although Calvin Ridley even started out hot with Julio on the field. So Matt Ryan is a solid quarterback one. Of course, you're playing Julio. Of course, you're playing Calvin Ridley. And also, this is where, see, we have to always test our assumptions, right? So when Julio is in and out of an offense or a big planet-sized target that draws in all those targets with gravity, we say, well, that's bad for the secondary targets, right? Not so quick. This year, Russell Gage has been a better play when Julio Jones is out there. Hayden Hurst has been a better play when Julio Jones is out there. So this is a good example of how getting that alpha target back makes the whole pie bigger, so that even if a big old slice of that pie goes to the alpha, there's still more left to feed everybody else. So you like Hayden Hurst better, you like Russell Gage better, and of course Todd Gurley. You love Todd Gurley in this one against Carolina. I know that the New Orleans running backs didn't exactly go off. They still accounted for a lot of yardage. They just didn't account for the touchdowns. We know that they like going to Gurley in the red zone. And on the subject of Gurley and touchdowns, you feel for him, Cease. You feel for him. I mean, He did have the peace of mind to know what he needed to do. It was really just a slight physical failure. What's really funny is we saw later on that day, Cliff Kingsbury almost ruin his team's chances to win by being too conservative and kicking the ball right away, whereas if Atlanta had done that, taken a knee and done that, we would be lauding them. Why even try to get more than that yard? So I just feel for Todd Gurley because he's an ultimate competitor, and he's had to deal with a lot of chatter, even for people like us. His knee is going to hang up and things like that. He's playing great football. He should show that in this game, and hopefully we can put that behind us and not have it not be one of the things that we remember Todd Gurley for.
We might remember to put Christian McCaffrey in our lineup. In what is got to be miraculous, Christian McCaffrey, red jersey off, out there practicing, looking good, might play. Now, he might not. It is, a short week for everybody else, not for him because he's been out. But I thought, okay, they'll probably wait another week with McCaffrey, just kind of get his legs underneath him. That doesn't sound like it, Bloom. So how do fantasy GMs approach this one with the Panthers, knowing that McCaffrey may be out there? Obviously changes your plan with Mike Davis.
Yeah.
What else could it possibly change and boost for this Panthers offense?
Well, maybe we'll go back to the earlier comment about that alpha player in the offense being out there just increases the size of the pie for everybody. That being said, McCaffrey is the automatic call in the red zone. So it's maybe not quite as good for some of the peripheral parts. But look, if McCaffrey's out there, obviously he's in your lineup. Davis slowing down, but if McCaffrey's not out there, Davis is in your lineup. What's great about this one, Cease, is we get a Thursday night showcase for Teddy. And for Teddy's team that is in playoff contention. And let's remember that this was a team that we were mentioning with Jacksonville, with the Jets. And we were mentioning this team as one of the favorites to be the number one pick.
Trevor Lawrence, yeah.
Right. Keep him in the same part of the country, It's not going to happen. Maybe he'll go to Jacksonville and keep him in the same part of the country. It's not going to happen because this team is a contender, and it's Teddy's team. And see, we can revisit offseason discussions like, well, Teddy's just a placeholder. Why are you paying him this much money when you know you're going to get it? That he's not your quarterback. He's their quarterback. I think he's got buy-in in the locker room. He's got buy-in in the coaching staff. They went to New Orleans and went toe-to-toe. Joey Sly's field goal was this short from making that a really interesting game, potentially going into overtime. And I just like that Teddy gets a showcase here. Teddy against Atlanta. Yeah, he's a low quarterback one, a matchup quarterback one here. Yes, you're playing Robbie Anderson, and that's another showcase for Robbie Anderson and his Adam Gase effect career revival. DJ Moore, because it's Atlanta, you're going to have him in. Just know that there's lesser margin of error with Curtis Samuel playing well. Curtis Samuel's in as a what the heck flex, at least against Atlanta. I know Atlanta's been really generous to tight ends. I don't know if we're going to play Ian Thomas, but I just want everyone to bask in Teddy's glow. Did you see the moment, Cease, in the game, by the way, whenever Teddy ran out of bounds on the New Orleans bench and just sat down in between Hill and Breeze? And there was a moment there that they just looked at each other and shared something. And I think in this moment, it's tough to find these little glimmers. But Teddy's personality is a glimmer. You know, Teddy, the fact that a person with Teddy's makeup is succeeding as a franchise quarterback right now is that guy. And I just love that they shared that moment and that he has that goodwill and that comfort zone with those guys. And that's why I root for him.
Yeah, definitely root for them and see what they can do on Thursday night to Sunday's action. New England at Buffalo, and oof. You trust in any Patriots in this one?
No, Cease. This is the classic, like, the patient's on the table, and they're like, pump, 2, 3, 4, like the defibrillator, you know? And it just shows how much things can change within a season. And I think this stands for the idea that the Seattle Seahawks bring out the best in their competition, because it feels like that was just a mirage, a dream we had, that Cam Newton in the Patriots offense was going to be everything we would hope it would be and more. And it's been the worst case scenario the last 2 weeks. He's not thrown to the right. You know, Bill Belichick's answering questions about, is it COVID after effects? And he's saying, no, he'd be on the injury report, which really, Bill Belichick's saying, oh, I would be honest about that on the injury report. Really? I just don't know if we know enough about COVID yet to say whether it's after effects, because foggy brain is one of the things that people report after having a COVID infection. And he certainly looks like he's operating with a foggy brain out there. Either way, what it means is you're not playing anybody. I mean, maybe for Dynasty, we're watching Jacoby Myers because he looked good as in mop-up duty. They had to try to get something going. We know that he's a technician. Julian Edelman looks old. Like you said, maybe he's playing through an injury. N'Keal Harry can't do anything. It's almost time to chalk that up along with the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside picks. Is like, well, if you had a do-over, you definitely wouldn't do that. Demir Byrd, I don't know what there's going to be here for him. He'll probably see Tre'Davious White. And speaking of White, James White not doing anything. The running game actually looked pretty good, but there's no way to get this running game on track. So it's a crisis, Cease. And here we are at the trade deadline, and we're thinking about the Patriots as sellers. Bill Belichick's answering questions about, is Stephon Gilmore on the market? Interesting as he goes into a matchup against his old team. So, yeah, if you were saying it was Belichick, not Brady, it's not been a good week for you.
No, not been a good week. Now, on the Bills side, you're wondering, good week there, or Steady Eddie, or Steady Cole? He's either top 50 yards or caught a touchdown pass in all 7 games this season. That is Cole Beasley, so you kind of know what you're getting. We're waiting for practice reports, recording on Wednesday morning, so we're waiting to see, where's Smokey Brown at, all that kind of stuff. So confidence in Stephon Diggs, maybe a tight end, maybe a sneaky tight end emerging for Josh Allen here, and then the confounding headache of Zach Moss, Devin Singletary continues this week.
Right. This one's interesting, Cease, because last year Josh Allen faced the Patriots as the boss at the end of the level in the video game, right? Oh, maybe you could make it this far, but can you get past this? And he couldn't. There have been some signs of that Patriots defense this year, but also last week they just looked like they were run ragged by San Francisco. Now, Buffalo doesn't have a running game to do that. It's not their MO on offense this year. So it'll be a really interesting test for Josh Allen, who at least moved the offense but couldn't score a touchdown last week against the Jets. So for the Patriots, Cease, don't you see this as a game where you summon up everything you have, almost like when we say this is their Super Bowl? It's so weird to be talking about the Patriots this way. But really, I mean, this is the statement game where you show the Bills, no, you're not the division winner yet. You still have to beat us. So Josh Allen, maybe a little bit perilous here. Do you ride Singletary and Moss? I mean, Moss is a better play than Singletary, but this running game hasn't gotten it going. And again, New England, I think. I mean, what's interesting here is I think it would be in Bill Belichick's interest to induce them to run. Stephon Diggs is probably going to face Stephon Gilmore. Stephon on Stephon. You're still going to play Diggs, but maybe you're lowering expectations. Like you said, we're waiting to see if John Brown is back. Either way, Cole Beasley is looking good. And know that Cole Beasley seems like he's the struggle target. Whenever things aren't coming easy to Josh Allen, he's going to find those easy short completions to Cole Beasley. So you really like Beasley this week. And for a desperation play, maybe Tyler Kroft, again, where he's been fantasy relevant in 2 games already this year, which corresponds to when Dawson Knox has not been doing much for this team. So a really important game for Buffalo because they didn't exactly drum the Jets out of the building last week, and to be a division winner and also to think that you can hang with this AFC bracket, you better bring it against Patriots.
Better bring it. That's right. And Ryan wants to get you a Kangol hat, Bloom.
Yeah, okay. So, I would wear a Kangol hat. This is my Anderson Paak bucket hat.
I was going to say, that's a little Anderson Paak this morning. I'm wearing my Mandalorian shirt, so there you go. See,
that's a big thing coming up, right? Do we get any kind of deal? Did the Mandalorian, we get paid to say that or anything?
Watch Disney Plus.
Boba Fett was my favorite Star Wars character when I was a kid, by the way.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Well, he's not on anyone's side. He's on his own side.
Yeah, that's true. Mandalorian. This is the way. This is the way to Tennessee and Cincinnati. Start all your Titans. It's pretty easy. Is Jonnu Smith going to be healthy enough to come through for you, though, Bloom? That's the only thing. Like, you look at this matchup, you lick your chops, you're starting Corey Davis, you're starting A.J. Brown, you're starting Derrick Henry, you're starting Ryan Tannehill, and you're just going, oh, I hope Jonnu's healthy, because I'd really like to start him, too.
Yeah, let's start off with that, because Muhammad Yusuf, who's very kind, Cecil, how are we not famous? You don't know how famous Cecil is in Denver. Cecil's famous in Denver. You can't go anywhere.
In my own mind, maybe.
No, he's being modest. So, look, the point is that he's got a question about Johnny Smith versus Richard Rodgers. And I can't talk myself into saying it's Johnny Smith. Not right now. And not with what Richard Rodgers has been doing. So, yeah, I don't think Johnny Smith is a slam dunk play this week. And I think part of it is because now that Corey Davis is back, which is an anagram for COVID's year, now that Corey Davis is back and you have A.J. Brown balling, what's left over in a low-volume pass offense? Remember, when this team is on track, they're going to throw the ball 25 times in a game. And they're going to be on track against Cincinnati. This is everyone get out the way, here comes Derrick Henry kind of game. So not liking Johnny Smith, not liking Adam Humphries. Corey Davis has a modest ceiling as a wide receiver 3 flex A.J. Brown show. And it's also Ryan Tannehill's show here, a high floor play, although, there's always some risk that maybe it's a Derrick Henry 3 or 4 touchdown game. The other thing that strikes me about this game, Cease, remember, Tennessee was our COVID team that had everything disrupted, had to deal with a lot of criticism and so on. And we've seen they played Buffalo on a Tuesday. They played an epic overtime game against the Texans. And then they played a game that is just grueling against the Steelers. So exhale. You're getting the Bengals. The schedule did you a little favor here. We'll see if it looks like they have to exert themselves less in this one to get what should be a comfortable win, even though they're on the road.
And they're on the road against Cincinnati. Just please, nobody hurt Joe Burrow. It's like my weekly prayer every week. Light the candles and just go, okay, just don't do anything. Let Joe Burrow get through. And I know, Vrabel's going to send the house after him. But, okay, Tyler Boyd, A.J. Green, doing good things. T. Higgins is worth a flex play there as well. We're waiting Wednesday morning on the practice report for one Joe Mixon. What does that mean for this backfield? So, again, Bloom, they'll be down, they'll be out, they won't win. Burrow will keep fighting as long as he's upright.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What you see in this game is another game for Joe Burrow to throw the ball 45 times against Tennessee's bend but don't break defense. So that's great for Boyd, good for A.J. Green. And T. Higgins, we're still not putting on the bench because of his ability to make some big plays. And it also makes me think, Cease, trade deadline. In the background here, we've got trade deadline questions. Like we said, the Patriots could be a seller, for instance. Cincinnati is definitely a seller. Are they a seller of A.J. Green? A lot of teams could use A.J. Green.
Yeah.
I mean, see, we could have come up with a list of at least 5 or 10 teams that if we heard they sent a 4th-round pick to Cincinnati for A.J. Green, we'd say that's a good deal. As long as you got the money to pay his franchise tag salary the rest of the year, good deal, because he can be, as Matt Walden pointed out, that big slot. It was pointed out, I can't remember exactly who it was, maybe Stephen Ruiz, if I could be wrong, that they're just, it isn't that easy to find somebody who can separate and make plays, and AJ Green can still do that. So we'll see. Also, Carlos Dunlap is out hanging out there. He's almost definitely going to get traded. He put his house. Did you see that tweet, Cecil, when he put his house on the market? He's like, I'm looking for a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bathroom house in Cincinnati. It's a good one. So he wants out. he wants out. He's going to get out. And then the other thing we're watching here is Joe Mixon. And Burrow is a solid quarterback one play because of the volume that's likely here. And then you have Mixon. A bye next week. I mean, we don't always, and as Dr. Gene always points out, Cincinnati never tells us anything. Joe Mixon's foot could be hanging on just by the skin on his ankle, and we wouldn't know because it's Cincinnati. But with week 9 coming up, rational thought would dictate, let him sit. Midfoot sprain, it's going to be tricky. Let him sit. It would be another Giovanni Bernard game. It would at least be a modest ceiling running back 2 for you. And Cincinnati, they got a little taste of being competitive, even though it was Cleveland. Cleveland's playoff team as of right now. Let's see if they can be competitive against the Titans.
Let's see what else is going on in the week in the National Football League. By the way, you mentioned putting a house up for sale.
Yeah.
You know what my man, Big Orlando Franklin, is doing now?
What's that?
Besides great radio in Denver, he's also
real estate agent.
He's flipping houses of players.
Oh,
that's smart. That's really smart because he's got the money to buy them. And then he'll throw, new granite or whatever and then flip them. And I think the one, the Kareem Jackson house, I think he made like a few million on it.
Yeah.
So it's okay. That's a good, hey, he might start going to other markets then, right?
Yeah, you can make a reality show out of that,
Yeah, exactly. The big Orlando. Let me talk, Sandy. Let's go. Nobody gets that reference. Let's go Vegas. And the Browns up next, and Vegas side of things, again, waiting on the practice report, but feeling good about Josh Jacobs. Maybe Henry Ruggs, you're left going, can you do a little bit more? Because you're watching Nelson Aguilar do more. And you're like, oh, okay, that's how that works. All right, Vegas, how are you going to attack Cleveland on the road in week 8?
This is a fun game. This is kind of like a play-in game, right? Like to the wild card bracket. I don't think the Raiders are going to overtake the Chiefs, even though they beat them soundly. I don't think the Browns are going to overtake the Ravens and the Steelers. But these are both teams obviously in playoff contention, again, with that extra playoff spot this year. This is a fun game. These are fun teams, and both coming in at interesting crossroads times. The Raiders, of course, just got in their own building, and they were the JV team against the Buccaneers. They won't look like a JV team against Cleveland. Against this Cleveland defense, we've seen Derek Carr dealing to Nelson Aguilar. And again, Aguilar is one of those guys standing for that high efficiency on a low number of targets, got more targets, still just as efficient. Henry Ruggs has that high ceiling where you want to get him in. The chance of that 75-yard touchdown is there. And of course, you're going to play Darren Waller. You're really excited to have Josh Jacobs for this one. I think Cleveland's run defense is a little underrated, but after last week, playing Tampa, this is going to seem like the holes are massive. Wow, like even the littlest crease is after what he had to face last week. This could easily be one of those Josh Jacobs 2 or 3 touchdown games. You want to see how this team responds. Cleveland knows a thing or two about responding after you get thoroughly beat by a superior team. And this would be a game, I think, that would go a long way towards giving Cleveland credibility as a playoff team because, as we've seen, the Raiders can compete with the best in the AFC.
Yeah, and then they could go bye-bye to Cleveland, now dealing without Odell Beckham Jr. There was some Nick Chubb news on the wire a little bit earlier this week as we're waiting for Nick Chubb to come back. But in the meantime, it's Kareem Hunt. And, of course, it was slated for Week 10. Week 10 after the bye, that's what Kevin Stefanski said about Nick Chubb. Well, it's not Week 10 yet, Bloom, so let's talk Week 8. And that means no ODB, maybe more Jarvis Landry, more, of course, Rashard Higgins, and then the tight end situation. Like, they got 3 of them. maybe they start using them more too.
Yeah, this is a Cleveland offense post Beckham. We saw last week how much of it was Cincinnati's defense. Again, think about that with Ryan Tannehill in that passing game efficiency. How much of it was Cincinnati's defense? 20 or 21 straight completions to finish out this game without Odell Beckham out there. Does that actually open things up for this to function a little truer to the playbook? We'll see. The Raiders, not a great defense, but not Cincinnati level. They got Max Crosby. Mo Hurst is doing some things. Love seeing that. They've got Trayvon Mullen back there. They've got some players. So certainly this is going to be a test for Baker Mayfield. I don't think we're going back to Baker, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has some fantasy success here. Again, Rashard Higgins, Jarvis Landry. I mean, probably Landry's your safer play. Higgins has a little more upside. Donovan Peoples-Jones, we're watching maybe last spot on your bench to see if some value grows here. But I think you're right to focus on the tight ends. If the safest play, so to speak, in this passing offense is probably Harrison Bryant. Doesn't look like a rookie out there, which doesn't come as a surprise because he had a very refined game. See, we look at these draft prospects all spring, and sometimes a guy's stock is high because of what he can become. And sometimes a guy's stock is high because he's showing you what he already is. And maybe he doesn't have a lot of ceiling. Harrison Bryant is never going to stand out as one of the most spectacular, athletic, highlight. Like, let's contrast Harrison Bryant and David Njoku, right?
Right.
And what does it say that in year 4 for Njoku, he's not ahead of Harrison Bryant in year 1? That, like, how important skills are. The it factor that Matt Waldman talks about of integrated technique that Harrison Bryant already has, and David Njoku is still trying to find that. So Bryant's a better play than Njoku. Bryant, it's wild that going into week 8, there's actually a tough choice on the waiver wire if you're getting a tight end this week. Is it Harrison Bryant? Is it Richard Rodgers? There's choices out there. Is it Adam Shaheen? Very interesting choices here. And then you get your last game from Hunt, as you alluded to, after the bye, week 9 bye. I think we're going to see Nick Chubb come back, and this is certainly a matchup that Hunt can do some things with. So the plan, this is a signal to all of the teams out there, right? Having 2 running back ones really worked out for Cleveland, especially with the central place the running back plays in their offense. So well done on those investments. Remember, he got that extension right before the season. So Cleveland, their quarterback's hot, their offense is hot. They're winning, even though it's edging out Cincinnati. It's still a win. This one's going to come a little tougher.
What are the Colts? What are they? Because you mentioned like this hot, that hot, Cleveland hot. Cleveland's hot, and Detroit's got Everson Griffin now, so that's a thing. But what are the Colts then? As we move on to the next matchup, Indianapolis at Detroit, and on the Indy side, it's like I'm not real excited about pretty much anybody on this team or on this roster because they're kind of stuck in the muck and the mire of a Phillip Rivers offense. So is there anything good here?
Coming out of a bye, it's going to be really interesting to see what Frank Reich has done to adjust what this offense can be. By the way, Carlos Dunlap to the Seahawks while we're recording. Good fit. Good player. He's a Cincinnati Bengals player, so we've never given him credit for how good of a player he's been, right? So, we'll see. See who's next. It's coming.
Well, and he's gotten like in football fans' minds, like they'll know Carlos Dunlap and how good he is, but just imagine how good he can be outside of Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly. And your man Jedi Sith Lord 23 giving us the scoop in the chat room in real time. So, does Frank Reich get the wrong messages? See, I hate to say this, but is Frank Reich a rational coach? Like, do we consider him as one of those coaches that if we have to project things, we project it rationally? Because now we can look back at even him going so hot and heavy after Phillip Rivers as, really?
Yeah.
And then the last game, they played Cincinnati. Poor Cincinnati in these games they've been losing. And we're up 21-0 Cincinnati was, and Phillip Rivers brought them back. But if you look at the throws that Rivers was making, his receivers had to make plays on the other end of those throws for him. You don't want this offense running through Phillip Rivers. You want this to be a Jonathan Taylor offense, maybe play action passing against defenses that are put in a bind, and the defense. Why do I have this suspicion that Frank Reich is going back and saying, Rivers, we can build around Rivers? Probably because, he pushed for Rivers in the first place. It is Detroit's defense. You're not really afraid of them. Rivers, I guess you get into some what the heck quarterback two super flex kind of plays here. But I think the rational play here is Rivers throwing the ball 20 or 25 times. Trey Burton, where you're wearing that Metallica knockoff shirt, makes me think of Cliff Amal. Rest in peace. Trey Burton, I guess. I mean, it's not T.Y. Hilton. It's not Zach Pascal. Maybe it's Marcus Johnson. Marcus Johnson is someone we barely talked about. I barely even include him on the waiver wire. Maybe I'm remiss here.
What about Michael Pittman Jr. when he's healthy?
Right. It's too many. Is Mo Alley Cox going to be healthy? I think that what we want, he's got fresh legs. What we want is Jonathan Taylor touching the ball 25 times. He's Derrick Henry. He's your Derrick Henry. He's the way that you don't have to get cute. So I'm really watching this game plan here. Now, if Detroit can keep it close, we get into the Indy defense side of this, then it's a Nyheim Hines game. Maybe. So what the heck flex for Hines here? Maybe resorting priorities. I don't know. That's probably me still wanting to make Hines a thing after that week one Fugazi. And Detroit, they're buyers. They're not a Fugazi. They're in it to win it.
Yeah, let's bring them on. Let's get it on. With the Rivers thing, Bloom, and you mentioned it with Frank Reich, he's talked himself into they're not going to put together a sound game plan because he feels like Rivers can bring him out of it. If things go wrong, we can just unleash Rivers. Yeah, you open up that dam and it's like a trickle. It's like when your pipes are frozen. You're like, oh, I guess that need to fix that. Way to go, Frank Reich. The Lions side of things, DeAndre Swift. Yes, Kenny Golladay, of course. You might be considering TJ Hawkinson as well, and Marvin Jones Jr. works his way into at least what the heck flex play in this offense. Adrian Peterson, kind of a boring what the heck flex, really, touchdown dependent. But they've got some players. They've got some excitement, and they've got Everson Griffin now.
Yeah, they do. And Griffin, I want to say there was a stat out there. I don't know if it's truly a stat or a perception that nobody has sacked Matthew Stafford more than Everson Griffin. So what times it is, Cease? We saw John Gruden coach the Raiders against the Buccaneers, and now we're going to see Adrian Peterson and Everson Griffin in Lions uniforms. Not this week, but we will see them play against Minnesota next week. Isn't that wild? As a Minnesota fan, did you ever think you were going to have to see Adrian Peterson and Everson Griffin coming at you in Detroit uniform? Whew. So is Indy's defense tough? I don't know. See, we talk about this a lot on the offensive side, again, to explain why is this such a week-to-week game? Why is it so confusing for fantasy football, even if we're not getting into the rational coaching skew factor? It's because different teams bring out different parts of a unit. And against weak quarterbacks and weak offenses, Indy's defenses look dominant. Shut down defense. But against better offenses, they've been vulnerable. Now, the bye week's going to help. I expect Derek Leonard to be back and healthy. And they have a lot of pieces on that defensive line. So we'll see. But certainly Kenny Golladay, they don't have an answer for him. Speaking of former Vikings, Xavier Rhodes, that's not an answer for Kenny Golladay. Not right now. Kenny Golladay is balling. TJ Hawkinson needs more. If we had rational coaching, TJ Hawkinson would be getting closer to Travis Kelce, George Kittle kind of target loads. We'll see about that. He had that game-winning touchdown. DeAndre Swift, we've seen the range now, right? I mean, we've seen against Jacksonville, he can give you over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. But then you come back against Atlanta. Atlanta was supposed to be tough, and he got a touchdown because of a questionable penalty, but otherwise didn't really do anything. So Swift is more of like a flex, what the heck running back too, than someone that we're counting on the way we had hoped after they reprioritized him after the bye. Marvin Jones, a desperation play. At least there were some signs of life here. I'm interested because, Cease, I think we were talking about Matt Patricia as a guy that could get fired this year. I mean, there was a talk just a few weeks ago that if Detroit did not win against the Jags, he was going to get fired. Now they're a buyer. They're trying to make a run. So how will this team respond to that? Fascinating matchup, and one that I could see going just about any way. Probably be like the Detroit-Atlanta game. It'll be boring, but have some sort of ending. Phillip Rivers pick 6 as they're about to go in and win the game, something like that.
This is the delusional bowl. That's basically what
I
we're
love
talking
it.
about, right? It's the
Yeah.
delusional bowl. Like, oh, you got Matt Patricia. We're making a run, everybody. Like,
This is our year.
yeah, okay. How's that going to work? All right. Well, let's go on to the next game. How is this going to work when we talk about Minnesota and Green Bay? There you go. Minnesota side first, and it's like, okay, let's let's walk gingerly through this because with Minnesota it is so hit and miss. Now Dalvin Cook is going to practice today. That just came across the newswire at footballguys.com. So Dalvin Cook going to practice. So we're all going to watch that very closely and see what's happening. But with reports not that long ago of Kirk Cousins' job on the line, and all right, you've got talent, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, use them, and maybe get Cook back this week, Bloom. That would be the elixir that helps cure everything.
It really makes this outlook tough because on paper this looks like a Green Bay defense game, right? At Lambeau, Minnesota. Kirk Cousins has had two of the worst days of his career this year, even with Dalvin Cook out there. And certainly the Packers can get after Kirk Cousins if he's put in obvious pass situations. Minnesota just traded Yannick Ngakoue. You see, he's like getting the drop on the coaching search that Houston and Atlanta got. They got the drop on the trade deadline. You know, they got Ngakoue out for a higher pick while we see Carlos Dunlap and Everson Griffin going for much later picks. So now that you've waved the white flag already, how does that affect the team? You can say we haven't given up on anything. You've given up. You've given up on the season. And it's Green Bay and Lambeau who usually do not treat Minnesota rudely. You know, so Cook back. I mean, look, if Cook's not back, do we like Alexander Madison? Not really. Anyway, you're probably going to hold him because one thing we know about Dalvin Cook is once he's hurt, he can stay hurt. But you're also not excited to play him if Cook isn't back. Of course, Cook is in your lineup. By the way, just a quick Thursday night kind of thing. Minnesota finishes out in the fantasy playoffs with Tampa, Chicago, and New Orleans. And Dalvin Cook is not known for staying healthy. So maybe, because we're getting clarity. He's going to practice. He's expected to play. So all systems go for Dalvin Cook. Maybe this is a time to try to turn him into Aaron Jones on the other side of this matchup, or Christian McCaffrey. Cook plus something for McCaffrey. Cook plus something for Derrick Henry. Because I just don't know if I trust Dalvin Cook to stay healthy, and if I do trust him, what's he going to do against Tampa, Chicago, and New Orleans in the playoffs? Is Adam Thielen going to get traded? Is that a 0% thing, Cease?
No, it's there's a percentage to it. Maybe not that high, but it should be a consideration.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a splash acquisition. I don't know exactly which contender it would make the most sense for. You know, I don't know, San Francisco or something like that. I mean, a team doesn't jump to mind right away as a fit, as a team that would give up, say, a second-round pick for Thielen. But if the Vikings are taking the long view, like we might trade Kirk Cousins in the offseason, San Francisco, we might really hit the reset button on this team blueprint. This is the moment, maybe trade Adam Thielen. Either way, you're playing Justin Jefferson. Irv Smith is the guy that I'm going to be watching for that bi-week realignment of priorities. We already saw him getting more work, and this Kyle Rudolph guy can get traded, by the way. If teams had interest in Zach Ertz, they're going to have interest in Kyle Rudolph. So that's something else to watch here. Certainly you like the idea of Irv Smith if they're coming back from behind. Again, waiver wire tight ends. Coming out of the bye, he might be there for you. And this game will be probably something like a bye for Green Bay.
Yeah, and Green Bay, that's the thing. Okay. Who do you trust? Well, Devontae Adams, of course. Jamal Williams, right? Maybe A.J. Dillon is a touchdown-dependent flex play, deep flex, what the heck flex if you want to. And the rest of the receivers, Bloom, they've got talent. We're just kind of waiting for Allen Lazard to get healthy. But we're waiting for MVS or anybody else to do much of anything behind Devontae Adams. But, as you mentioned, might be a let's try this type of game. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they might just toy with the Vikings and try some new things. Experiment, right? Well, what's that look like on Sunday?
Yeah. Well, look, this is certainly a case where you like Aaron Rodgers' matchup on paper, but you worry about, as a refrain that we've been hitting lately, that it would just be too easy for him. and maybe he throws the ball 15 times, and this is an Aaron Jones game. We're going to watch his practice status, or Jamal Williams game, or see Jamal Williams either way, right? Because if it's Aaron Jones, that first game back from a calf injury, if this game becomes like a 3-score blowout, then you don't want him out there. There's no reason to let him keep playing on that calf. So it could be a Jamal Williams week. It might be a Jamal Adams week, but that's for later, second half of the show. You also have, again, Yannick Ngakoue traded. So what chance there was of getting some pressure on Aaron Rodgers, that has gone away. So you love Devontae Adams. And that's it, right? I mean, what have we learned now? When Devontae Adams is healthy, maybe one other mouth gets moderately fed here, but this is not. And again, on paper, yes, Marcus Valdez-Scantling could have a 75-yard touchdown. Yes, Robert Tonyan could score 3 touchdowns in this game. But why would you not just keep going back to Devontae Adams? It works. It's great. It's wonderful. Everything's wonderful right now for Green Bay because they're not facing a physical team. But just looking ahead, Cease, next week, got to go back to San Francisco. So good luck. This is going to be a tune-up for the real test.
Tuning it up is kind of what Kansas City is going to do against the Jets. And that's what they did against Denver. Honestly.
Right. Me.
And talking to people, let's just say around the Chiefs organization, not beat writers, but people that work for the team, they were just kind of experimenting themselves. Well, like I said, with Denver, they're just like, hey, let's try this play for McCall Hardman. Oh, it worked. Touchdown. Hey, let's throw in Chad Henne. See what? Hey, touchdown. Hey, and now it's the Jets. So, I mean, I guess we got to talk about the Jets side first, which means for me, Denzel Mims, just because I love Denzel Mims. And they'll have to throw. They'll be down. But Kansas City's, cat and mouse, tiger and mouse, they're going to be that dominant. So with the Jets side, it's going to be really simple. I'm going to watch Denzel Mims. I'm not starting him. Just going to watch him because I like his game and have him in dynasty formats. And
that's it. Yeah,
that's it.
That is it. Didn't the lion in the mouse when the mouse pulls the thorn out of the lion's paw?
That's why I said tiger, because I was like, the lion in the mouse. The lion actually likes the mouse.
Yeah, I don't.
Nobody likes Adam Gase.
No. This is like the great white shark, and
this is Eric Bieniemy pre-scouting the team he's going to run next year.
Yeah. There you go. Darnold, just want to see him stay psychologically intact as he rides this out. Denzel Mims is the guy we want to watch for dynasty, for redraft even. Brashad Perriman's got a concussion. Jamison Crowder's got that groin injury. And it's going to be really interesting with Crowder because he does seem like an excellent trade candidate.
Yes.
Crowder or Golden Tate, right? It's like you can get Crowder, who can still be a core piece of your team, and Golden Tate, who is just a 1-year fill-in but can do some of the same things. But do they get someone to trade for him as he's nursing that groin injury? And then LaMichael Pirine getting a little more opportunity. We love seeing Frank Gore out there. And 20 and a half points the spread here. And it's not the first half spread, but it might not be enough to cover the first half.
And I did see Denzel Mims at the Senior Bowl, where he was the best receiver there, even above Chase Claypool and Michael Pittman Jr., et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Kansas City side, and what we've learned, and again, Bloom talking to Chiefs people, Mahomes doesn't even care about his numbers or his stats. Like this year, he's just in a different mode where it's like, oh, we scored a defensive touchdown. We had a 102-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Yeah, I don't really need to do anything. Now, this is a Le'Veon Bell revenge game, and sure, they might give him 20 touches and just kind of let him go nuts. Again, Bloom, this is an experimental game. So with your Chiefs players, you're excited. You're excited because you have Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Pat Mahomes. But on the flip side of that, when they're in these easy ones, and this isn't even cruise control. This is like, the Google car that drives itself. Like you just get in. Where are we going? Okay, don't screw it up. Don't get in a wreck. I mean, they're coasting, man, and they'll coast against this team.
Exactly. Don't get anybody hurt, basically.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. It's just don't get anybody hurt in this game. So I think absolutely. And I'm not saying bench Patrick Mahomes. Okay. I mean, if the other options like Kyler Murray or well, he's on bye. Russell Wilson. The other option is, I mean, I suppose I could imagine some tough choices, Cease. I mean, I shouldn't downplay this, right? Because if I came to you right now and said, should I play Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes this week?
Herbert.
I mean, yeah. So there are some cases where I can picture a second quarterback being a better play than Patrick Mahomes this week. Although you also could see Mahomes just throw like 4 touchdowns in the first half or something like that. So I don't want to poo-poo the idea that, but you're not going to get cute. Like, I'm not going to play like Ryan Tannehill over him. Probably not going to play Josh Allen against New England over him, or Matthew Stafford against Indy. Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees against Chicago. Even though Teddy has a great matchup, I'm not playing Teddy or even Matt Ryan over him probably. We're down playing expectations here, and that means, and again, I'm not getting cute and benching Tyreek Hill. I'm not benching Travis Kelce, but I won't be surprised. It's maybe the best way to put it is in DFS. You're going to stay away from these guys. The one, and you're going to play Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Here's the one thing I want to put out there, Cease. I'm going to get your thoughts here on our parting shot in part 1 of the preview. And before as I set this up, I'll build some suspense, folks. Is down here in New Orleans, we are going to take a direct hit from Zeta. So to my friends, because people more and more, Cease, I hear that people are like, I look forward to the show. It makes my day go better. It puts me in a good mood. It does it for me too. So if I can't join you all Thursday, if our power's out, I don't know when it's going to come back. They just had a turbine go down that's supposed to help pump water out of the city that was built in 1915, New Orleans. There are good things and there are bad things about living in New Orleans. Being in Hurricane Alley is one of them. So I may not be with y'all Thursday. I don't know if we're going to have an IDP show tonight. I don't know if we're going to have the Sunday morning show and my content and everything. So, folks, if I could possibly find a way to do my work without electricity, I would, because it's my antidepressant. Also, speaking of antidepressants, getting out of the Jets. I like that segue, Cease. Getting out of the Jets organization. Getting out of the Jets organization, the best antidepressant that there is. So tell me, Cease, is it too much going right down the middle of Narrative Street to say Kansas City gets Bell at least 1 touchdown in this game? At least one?
At least
one? At least play Le'Veon Bell. Like, if you had to choose between Bell and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Bell. DFS lineups, Bell. You want to get a buy low trade in for Bell, get it in before this game. Yes, this stuff matters. Yes, I can absolutely see this being a game for Le'Veon Bell to get to show how happy he is. It's like, your ex is out and they're happy. Their life is good.
Yeah. Well, there's a million ways we could go with that one, Bloom. But everyone out there, thank you very much for listening. I'll give us the extreme close-up so maybe people can see the Mando shirt a little bit better. Yeah. It's one of those rip-off ones like on Facebook where
great.
It's like, hey, buy this shirt. It's totally not licensed, but anyway.
Yeah, but that's going back to like Fish Tour or Dead Tour. That's a staple. That's the way that you sneak in like the wink. Like, I get it. Do you get it? It's a little secret handshake.
Well, and plus it's Disney, man. Like,
yeah, that's true.
They own everything, so it's like a little bootleg Mandalorian shirt. Sure.
Yeah. Just send us some free Mandalorian gear, Disney. We'll sell out too.
Right. Totally.
Give me one of those baby Yodas that talk.
WNBC. I should bring I got Avery a baby Yoda, the other one of the big ones. I mean, it's like the same size. Looks just like the little guy. So anyway, stay safe. And again, we'll have some form of like preview part 2, hopefully with Sigmund.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking of like generators. I'm like, what kind of generator?
I know Home Depot, but then how do you do the internet? How do we have it? Do you have a generator big enough for like the internet for New Orleans to work?
You'd have to tether it to your phone,
right?
Because I'm thinking, I'm gonna totally sound like a prepper, but I'm not. But I'm thinking like, okay, I got a stockpile of food, I got a stockpile of other things, I got a stockpile of everything. I've got a generator. Like, okay. All right.
Maybe we'll talk off the air, Cease, about this.
Yeah, I'll give you some prepper tips. All right, everyone, going back into my tunnel. Actually, I'm going to Broncos practice. So he's Sigmund Bloom. I'm Cecil Lammey. Do all those YouTube things. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid. Everyone out there, stay safe, stay tuned, and stay frosty.